a really tricky time, can't it, for those suffering with mental health issues?
Absolutely. And people who suffer with mental health issues often struggle, all year round, but it seems to be amplified really in January. And there's a number of reasons for that. We've just come off of the back of the festive period. Lots of people, particularly who are celebrating Christmas, might have found that period of time pretty expensive. Financial situations, therefore, might play a part in how people are feeling, and their anxiety levels will certainly play a part with that. January typically for the UK is also not a great month from a weather perspective. It's cold, it's dark. That can absolutely have a significant impact on people's mood. And of course, people are going back to work after having some time off, hopefully to spend time with friends and family. And it's always a bit of a challenge for people to get back into the swing of things and as part of the working week after the festive season.
I understand Ripple, they often track, people searching online for things linked to mental health and suicide. What are some of the stats you normally see around January time for people searching these terms?
Yeah, so Ripple, available as a browser extension and also to be put onto Wi-Fi networks, is able to intervene and intercept any harmful searches that are conducted online relating to the topic of self-harm or suicide. And typically, we do see an increase in the number of searches that we intercept in January. In comparison to other months throughout the year. So, for example, in 2024, we had over 6,500 searches that we interrupted and intervened on, where people were experiencing mental health crisis and were conducting harmful online searches. It's absolutely the month where the highest number of harmful searches are conducted, which really is a reflection on the time of year and that people are finding things tough.
And I know you mentioned previously, but given, we've come out of Christmas, so people have gone from seeing friends and family to not seeing friends and family. Would you say that January for a lot of people can feel a lot more lonely going from, having their near and dear around them to, going back to work and again, just getting back into the status quo?
Yeah, absolutely. Loneliness can affect anybody really at any time, but again, it is amplified in January. Many of us have been spending a lot of time with friends, family, catching up, spending time off work, being social. And in January, when everyone goes back to work, that stops and people are often on their own again, and that can be a challenge for people. So loneliness is certainly a factor that affects people's mental health. And what we would say at Ripple is please reach out, make sure that you're maintaining those relationships, speaking to your family, speaking to your friends, speaking to your neighbours, whoever it is you can trust, about how you're doing, because somebody's always there to listen.
Well, that perfectly leads into my next question. If someone feels like their mental health has taken a nosedive or they feel like they might be coming to a crisis point, what are some of the things they can do to protect themselves?
So this really is quite subjective depending on the person. So what might work for one person might be completely different for somebody else. And if I take myself as a typical example, I personally struggle with my mental health, particularly after losing my brother Josh to suicide. And for me, ice baths, 10K runs and so on don't work for me. For me, I'd rather sit at home, put a Netflix on under the duvet and order a pizza. So it really is whatever works for you. Don't feel like you have to be that person that gets out and does lots of exercise and so on. If you can't do it, that is also okay. It's whatever works for you. But the key message that is relevant to everybody here is please do not bottle up how you're feeling. Tell somebody that you trust. Open up and talk about how you're actually doing, because somebody is there to listen to you, and it will feel like a huge weight has been lifted from your shoulders if you're able to share what it is you've got going on at the moment. And it will always get better.
Fantastic. Well, that's the end of the questions I have for you, but I do always like to ask, is there anything else that you'd like to say that you've not had the opportunity to?
I'd just like to mention really that Ripple is a piece of software that is completely free to download for parents at home to safeguard their children and young people. It's free for schools, colleges and universities, and it is also available for businesses to deploy in order to safeguard their workforce as well.